And we're live, just like that.
Boom. All right.
Good for the heads up on that.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tucker.
Yeah, this is yesterday's stream. I had no idea what
could
was
have
going
said anything there.
All right, here we go.
Oh, buddy, let's do it.
Here we go.
Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. And sorry it took us so long to get here. Elliot was stuck in the Tampa Bay airport. As if it could have
about 8 hours
worse.
Yesterday.
As if the trip could have gotten worse.
The locker room was a little longer than expected. So
it just didn't work out.
Here we are.
But we're here now.
And I will say Tucker should consider himself in the breaking news booth.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, Tuck, if you hear anything.
I know you're monitoring and changing, but...
Yeah, but keep an eye on your phone.
Let's be real. There could be some important...
All right, so let's just dive into it all.
Let me start.
The floor is yours,
Yeah.
sir.
So, look. Look.
Listen.
I believed in the team. And I think what was so disappointing about Tampa was they all along gave us no reason to believe. I'm serious. I
was there.
I know. But, they earned the right to believe, in my opinion. Their track record was there. They have great players. They have those things. They just quit, man. Yeah. And I think what's so disappointing is they did it to themselves. We can point and look at roster holes and all these things. Players didn't play well. The coaches didn't play well. And what's the worst part about all this is they handled it like
babies.
Yeah, I mean
a bunch of babies.
They did it to themselves. Get along. Try. Don't get so frustrated on this. And look, I've never been in that situation, so I can't speak to what it feels like to lose a Super Bowl in crushing fashion and then have your professional career free falling, right? I am sure it's very frustrating, but they should have been better than that. They're better than Tampa Bay. I don't care that they lost. They're not playing better than Tampa right now, and they have quit on the season. I mean, the season's over now, so it doesn't matter. But I think what everyone should be so frustrated about with this team is just how they handled it. And I think we've done end of season pods a bunch, and we've sat here and been this guy's not the guy, or man, next year they really need a receiver, or this and all those things. Bottom line is this team is broken. I remember we did a pod recently. I think it was maybe after the San Francisco game, or I forget when it was. And I use the analogy of the flower, right? What's so upsetting about the loss is it's over. It's over. The fun time that we had with this team, I'm serious. It's gone. It's done. I remember a few weeks ago too, I said on the pod how I was thinking it'll be so crazy when this eventually ends to think we lived through it. The days of having post-game pods where it's I can't believe they're 10-1 again. They're 20. It's over. It's tragic. It's really sad. We had such an amazing run here, and it's done just because of how everybody's handling this, because of the pressure he's going to feel to fire Serianni. I hope he does fire Serianni. I wouldn't. I think it's a mistake. But at this point, I don't have the energy to fight.
Wow.
Seriously, this is Gannon all over again. I think it's a huge mistake to fire Serianni. I think people are going to regret it. I think the Eagles will regret it. I think it speaks poorly of them as an organization. They're going to fire Serianni at the first chance they really get to do it. They fired Desai after 11 games. After Jalen's first year in 2021, they tried to trade him. Where is the loyalty? Where is seeing things through?
Seeing things through. Loyalty, I don't care about. It's football.
Other than Howie.
But in terms, you're right. But in terms of your point of where is the to just bail on people quickly is a different thing. But I don't think loyalty should have to do with it. It should have to do with it. Put the best field on the team.
Where's giving people a chance?
Well, that's a different thing. Can people recover? Can people learn from their failures?
Who would you say?
Howie. Is a perfect example, right?
The best person in the organization at their job is probably Howie. He's had so many failures.
Well, not just that. He had the all-time, literally stuck in a closet and got a second chance to come back, and he grabbed it.
And everyone wanted Howie fired.
And then obviously 2020, the whole thing went on fire. But really, he was not the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, and then got it back. And then, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And could have fired him multiple times. Didn't do it. Stuck with him, right? And what happened? He's one of the best in the league at his job. Now, he didn't have a good year.
He had a bad year.
But I don't hear anybody saying fire Howie.
No, there are a few. We got a few phone calls.
Right, a few. But I'm saying,
but I agree. I think that the vast majority of people, at least, we did a Twitter poll today, which was really weird because it was.
This is where I was going to go next.
Who deserves the most blame for the demise of the Eagles season? And Serianni got 74% of the vote, and then Howie was 12 and Jalen was 11, which was weird because I think the vast majority of people agree Nick, Jalen, then Howie in terms of play, or Nick and Jalen at the top, however you want to parse that, and then Howie below that. In terms of
I think fans are fooling themselves. Like, it's the Serianni is not the main problem with this team. Fire him. I hope they fire him because I don't want to go through all next year of people like doing this again. Like it's like with Gannon coming back. I didn't want Gannon to come back because it would have been a full year of the same thing. Like, it's over. It's broken. Like, I've used the analogy of like, it's like when you crack a vase, like you can have a crack in it and turn it around and you can pretend the crack's not there, but it's done. Like, and it's unfortunate that this is how it came to be. But Sirianni's going to be the fall guy. He shouldn't be the fall guy. The real problem with this team is the quarterback's not as good as we thought. I'm sorry. But like, if we're going to fire Serianni after 1 year, I'm sorry. It is what it is.
Hold up.
If Nick's not as good as we thought, then Jalen's not as good.
Jalen was bad this year. But
so was Nick.
Yeah, but again, like you are making that way too simple. I mean, Nick was horrendous the last 7 weeks of the season. Jalen was bad.
So they are tied at the hip.
They are, but again, Nick is the freaking head coach, man.
Jalen's
a 25-year-old kid.
And Nick's
he's 25 years old. 42.
How is
you know how
that
much?
young?
Yeah, no. You know how much? I don't care. Do you know what? I'm 42. You know what I know? 25-year-olds are fucking kids, man.
Yeah.
I know that. Like, and I'm an adult. I'm a grown ass man. Nick Sirianni's a grown ass man. He's 42 years old. He might be young to be a head coach in the NFL, but he is a grown-ass man.
Yes.
And he's not that young. Sean McVay's younger. Like, there are other guys younger. Like, he's not the youngest head coach in the NFL. So, like, he's a grown-ass man.
Yes, but like, he's done the job for 3 years, right? 3 years Nick's done this job, and he's been awesome for 80% of it. And we're going to fire him? Like, I'm not saying he did a great job this year. He deserves blame for a lot of things. The sloppy plays. Once again, they burned a timeout because of substitutions. They looked terrible on offense. Like,
dude, they didn't show up for a playoff game. Guys didn't tackle. That's on the coach.
It absolutely is.
And the blitz stuff. Like,
I agree with all of this, right? Like, Nick deserves blame and criticism. But there is a difference between sitting here and going, this guy needs to be better, and saying we're giving up on him.
Look, I'm admittedly torn because I came into it saying I wouldn't fire him, and that performance was so bad that if they do fire him, I'm okay with it. Like,
but what would you do? Like, I feel like you said you would fire him.
I would hire Bill Belichick.
Okay,
yeah, in a second. Or I would hire Mike Vrabel. Right, yeah, I would go get someone. Look, because it doesn't feel fixable to me. I don't feel like giving Nick, and again, I don't think he deserves to get fired. I'll put that out there. Like, in terms of what he's done as an NFL head coach, he does not deserve to be fired. Right. And I don't like the look. And I wouldn't fire him unless I had Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel or someone like that locked in. Or that be for you, Ben Johnson, or whoever it is, someone they believe. But it just feels to me, and look, they would know better than me, it feels, to your point, broken beyond fixing. Like, it doesn't feel like Jalen and Nick are going to work. Like, Jalen, when given an opportunity to defend his coach, was like,
let me comment.
Oh, you guys are talking about? I didn't even know.
Let me comment.
Like,
on that
which was weak as hell on Jalen. Weak.
Yes. Like, okay.
Super. I agree. Hold on. I'll let you comment. I agree. That is weak as hell. Like, I'm gonna rip into Jalen too. I'm super disappointed with Jalen, but like, Jalen's not going anywhere. He's not. And what they have to do is figure out how to get Jalen back to what he was last year. That's the primary goal of this organization today. Now, obviously, got to fix the defense. There's a lot you got to do. But the number one thing this team has to worry about right now is getting Jalen Hurts back to the guy we saw last season. That's their primary goal. And I don't know that Nick and him can work together. And if they can't, like, that's it. And it sucks, but that's it.
And if him and Nick can't work together, like, that's a major red flag against Jalen.
But it's also a red flag against Nick.
But I'm saying, like, but we're only talking about getting rid of one of them.
But because it is what it is. Like, we're not getting. You're not getting rid of Jalen. Like, it is untenable from a contract perspective. You can't get rid of Jalen. That is not an option. So what else are you gonna do if they can't work together? Seriously, I'm just being logical.
I get that, but like, what are they doing as a franchise if you're gonna give up on this guy so quickly? Like,
but again, we don't know.
So is Jalen on the hot seat entering next year? I'm not trying to like see where I'm just saying, like, let's think about this, right? So Serianni got fired at the first chance of like real drama. They got rid of Desiree. They've already tried to get rid of Jalen. Like, how long are we giving Jalen here? And I'm not saying from my perspective, like from the Eagles' perspective.
I don't know.
Like, if you're on that team, how do you feel? Like, all right, so with the Sixers, right? There was this whole thing, and this is obviously a much, much smaller example of like where Paul Reed always felt like he was looking over his shoulder because of Doc, right? Like, whenever he made a mistake, he couldn't like develop and grow because whenever he felt he was going to make a mistake, like he was going to pull it out of the game. Who in that Eagles organization should feel like they're being given a chance
look,
to grow?
Again, I don't disagree. I understand that point of it, but there are just certain things that are facts. And again, like, I mean, that was so bad.
It was so bad.
It was the most embarrassing playoff performance I've ever seen from my football team. Like, maybe a Philly sports team.
It was bad.
In terms of talent versus whatever, in terms of expectations on the season for what, they should have lost by 50. If they were playing a good team, they would have. If they were playing the Niners, how much would the Niners have beaten that team that showed up on Monday night? 60-0? Seriously, dead serious.
I agree.
So, and again, I get it. For me, forgetting the Jalen Nick thing, I also question, as I've said many times, what has been something I said, what was, in my opinion, the biggest loss from last season, this season, my opinion, Shane Steichen. I've said that so many times. The way we saw this offense not evolve over the course of the season, the fact that, again, and look, I think it's on Jalen too. I'm not only putting on Nick, but the fact that they could not stop a blitz when it was a problem all season long, literally from week 1 until the playoffs. And in the playoffs, he's rushed, 70% of the time or something? Free rushers everywhere. There's no plan. There's no nothing. And I know Jalen is part of that, but you can't tell me that Jalen every single play checks into the wrong thing at every time, especially when Jason Kelsey's pointing out the mic and doing. He's involved in that too. You didn't have a plan as a coaching staff to make that better, and that it's a borderline fireable offense to me.
Yeah, but I just think so if we're gonna fire guys,
and again, the bigger point with Steichen is that I don't know. I don't think Nick's an offensive genius. I think Nick's a culture builder and a guy who can lead people, which is important. But I think Nick might be a bad offensive coach.
So I don't think,
or average at best.
I think Nick is not of the level of a McVay or Shanahan. If you want to say McDaniels, although again, McDaniel did crater and his offense was terrible in the playoffs too. But I would agree with you. I think certainly as a play caller, because he doesn't do it, but as a mind.
Or he did say whatever he did it this year involved, it didn't work.
And one thing I will say, I do wonder if they say to him we're gonna hire a play caller we want, and there's an interesting level to that too. How does Jalen feel about that? But I wonder if Nick will go, all right, I'm not calling plays anyway.
He probably would.
He might.
I don't think Nick would have a problem with that.
But
again, then it's a question of who you bring it in to be a play caller you want, who's going to be the play callers you want are the guys who are Ben Johnson, Bobby Sloak.
And how's Jalen going to react to that? We already know it seems like Jalen and Nick aren't getting along.
And he likes Brian Johnson.
And he likes Brian Johnson.
We
assume he likes Brian Johnson. There was a report I forget where it was from, and I apologize, but saying this guy had indications maybe he wasn't as cool with Brian Johnson as before. And here's the thing about the Tim McManus thing too. The article in there is basically saying Jalen's not happy with the flow of or how they're using the offense. He wants to do more short intermediate passes. Then throw it short. He checks to deep passes.
Just him.
I just
got to run an offense that gets those guys open. You gotta call those plays. You gotta plan to use.
But you don't think I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Jalen is in the meetings saying, I want to do this. I want to do this. And Nick is no, we are not doing that. Let's just.
I don't know. But we're also supposing here.
But we're think about the blitz thing too, right? So clearly they're bad against the blitz. Obviously,
they're all-time horrendous.
Well, you know what's funny? The blitz numbers are exactly the same this year as they were last year, which is funny
in terms of how much they're blitz. Not
no.
They do.
The numbers.
I saw your. It's just the turnover thing. But come on, dude. We saw them the last 7 weeks.
No, they were bad against it. I agree.
And again, and that just means that Jalen was able to rise above it and do a good job. That's comparatively. But again, we saw the game. Guys are running free at him. What do you want?
But that's what blitzing is.
But what do you know? Blitzing is about picking up those
guys.
But
I'm saying
we're having a plan.
But it's also,
we're having receivers turned around so you can throw it right to them. Yeah, guys aren't turned around.
All right, the turnaround thing to me is
a factual thing.
Throw the ball with anticipation. Just because a guy, if we're gonna have a quarterback,
this is literally what you're supposed to do. You turn around if there's a blitz. The ball's coming right away. Jalen has under 2 seconds to throw the football.
Yeah, so throw it in under 2 seconds.
Right, but you guys have to be looking at you.
I don't think they have the quarterback to handle the blitz.
I think,
and it could change.
But he was great against the blitz last year. How was he great against the blitz?
His numbers are exactly the same.
No, but he didn't have the turnovers.
Yeah, exactly.
And regardless, he was much better against the blitz last year. Just eye test. Forget stats. Eye test.
No, we talked about in the Super Bowl how the blitz was a major problem.
A problem for him, but he was
still. But Shane Steichen was here last year.
Better at it last year than he was this year. He regressed at it from last year this year, and the team as a whole regressed at it from last year.
Right.
Because of coaching, because they don't have a plan. They're not helping him.
It just look
he's 25 years old, man.
Yeah, but again, remove the actual age aspect between you and Nick. I know you're saying you're 40, right? But Nick's
a head coach in the NFL.
Nick is 3 years into the job.
Nick's a head coach in the NFL.
Why can't Nick be given room to grow and not Jalen? And I'm not saying they should trade Jalen. I'm not saying I'm out on Jalen.
It's because it's a fact of life in the NFL. It is what it is. Coaches have a certain lifeline. Quarterbacks have a longer lifeline if they show something like that.
But Nick has showed something,
especially if they get a contract. No, I'm saying regardless.
Right.
Like, I mean, period. If quarterbacks show something, they will last a lot longer than coaches in places. It's just what it is. It's the NFL.
Like the Eagles,
You know that.
the Eagles organization that I thought was like this like gold standard, great organization. Like they're like if they fire Nick, like my perception of this Eagles team is like changing.
So okay, hold on. Let me flip it around.
Like I'm not as high on Jalen. I'm not as high on Nick. I'm not as high on Lurie. I'm not as high on Howie.
Let me flip it around. If you're Jeffrey Lurie and you believe, you understand that it doesn't look good and all that, but you believe,
right?
And you're there, and Howie's there, and you believe that Nick Serianni is not the head coach to lead you forward. He is not the guy who's going to get you where you want to be, and it was fluky. Whatever you want to say, you would keep him?
No, if they don't think he's the guy, then you got to fire him.
So it is what it is.
Right,
like,
but I'm saying, like,
and you have trusted Jeff and Howie to make these type of decisions in the past. So
yeah, but we also thought the Desai one was a good
they've
move
also
at
made
the
the
time.
playoffs
That was
5
a
out of
complete
6 years.
disaster.
They won this. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in 6 years. I'm just saying, like it's funny that we're flipping this around.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this is falling apart in front of our eyes.
But again, we would have said the same thing in 2020, and they won the Super. They were in the Super Bowl.
They were in, yeah, they were. But you know why? And again, who'd they hire? They got Nick. They got Jalen. Like the 2 people that turned this franchise around. And again,
look, they had 2 other different people turn it around 2 years, 3 years before that.
Right.
Like you could turn around like that in the NFL.
All right, so then get rid of the quarterback too.
But I don't think Jalen is as big a problem as Nick.
But they're both problems.
Again,
and we're just ignoring all the off the field
hold up.
stuff.
Well, you're missing what I'm saying, and what the vast majority of people are talking about are saying is that Jalen's problems are because of the coaching as much as anything.
Right.
Like, and he should get ripped for them, but like, and maybe he's got, and not maybe, he definitely has other things he needs to work on, and we talked about the leadership stuff, and he needs to be more approachable. He needs to be able to relate to everyone on the team. He needs all that, but in terms of on the field stuff, he could be coached better, and that can make him better.
Here's my
boom.
issue.
With Shane Steichen, he's a second in MVP voting. Steichen leaves, he's not. Like, boom.
No, but it's not that simple. But like,
I know it's not, but I'm just saying that's a part of it.
No, I think like it is part of it in the way that whenever
it's a massive.
Okay, well then is he gonna regress again next year when he's all new coordinators?
No, he might have a really good offensive coach who knows how to come in here and teach him.
He picked his coordinator this time.
Well, maybe don't let him pick his coordinator.
Okay, that's true.
What
so
a
like,
thought.
all right, but here's my issue with like the online analysis, and I want to start by saying like, Baldy knows more about football than me. Dan Orlovsky knows more about football than me. Like they just do, right? But they are breaking things down without all the answers.
Of course, but they're breaking it down with a much larger experience.
Yes, agreed.
Of being in those exact situations with those type of people, with those type of things, and they can see things that we can't, man.
Yes, but again, like what? Like, all right, so they don't throw it over the middle. Why do you think that is?
Probably because they don't call enough plays, or
no,
because
I think
the
it's because
offense isn't designed well. Because guys aren't open over the middle because of the way the offense is designed. Guys are never open in this offense.
That's not true.
But
on the 4th and 5 play where he threw it to Devontae in the corner, I thought it was the smart decision. That's where I would have thrown it. Right? Like
I wouldn't have gone.
Devontae's having a great game.
I would have taken the field goal.
Right,
I hated the call to go 4th and 5.
That's a different. Yeah.
You were scrounging for points there. Like take the freaking field goal. I hated that.
But at the end of the day, like throwing Devontae was playing awesome. Like I don't hate the call, but regardless, like Goddard is open over the middle for the first down. Like Jalen doesn't throw it over the middle, and look like
and maybe that's coaching.
Let me take a step back.
They should be coaching him to throw it to the middle. Again, you need a coach who's gonna get Jalen to do things the way Jalen
has to listen. Jalen has to be open to coaching.
Isn't that on coaching? So you think Jalen is just not open to coaching? He's doing whatever the fuck he wants.
I mean, that seems to be the indication from the reporting. Like it's
not just the indication. It goes both ways. There's reporting on both sides.
I think the problem with this team right now, much like look. When they were awesome in 2017, it was because Carson was awesome. When they were awesome in 2022, it's because Jalen was awesome. We can't just, when like the team is awesome, be like, these players are great. Like, is AJ the best receiver?
We gave Doug more credit in 2017 than we gave Carson. We were like, Doug's the reason they won the Super Bowl.
No, but Carson in 2017 before he got hurt.
Before he got hurt,
like,
but then I was like, oh, Doug, look at Doug. Doug did it all. Yay, Doug.
Right. All right. So like, like I said, I hope they fire Nick. Like I really do. For Nick's own sanity, I hope he's gone because it's like when this city turns on somebody, there is no worse place to be. So I hope.
But you can bring him back. The city turn on Howie.
Yeah, and how awesome was Howie's life for like 3 years?
Fine?
Terrible.
Did it work out?
Yeah, it worked out. But like he had to
stick turn it around here.
Right.
Man up.
I'm just saying I hope they fire him. Because I think like this is broken and it's not his fault. I'm just saying how I feel. I'm being honest. Like I'm being honest though. Like I think this is broken and I don't think.
But again, you're saying I think this is broken. Like Nick has a role.
He does. He does have a role. But so does Jalen. And like,
of course,
right.
but Jalen's not going anywhere. Like,
So,
end of story.
Right, but that doesn't make me feel better about it. But, like that's like being like, my car's broken, I can't fix the engine, like it is what it is.
No, that's not like that, dude. Because Jalen, I am still happy Jalen's here, and I think Jalen can be better with better coaching.
But could Nick be better with a better quarterback?
I don't know. I have no idea.
But why are you sure Jalen can be better with better coaching, but Nick can't be better with a better quarterback?
Maybe again, because Jalen almost won the MVP last year.
And Nick almost won the Super Bowl last year.
Sure.
And we think he should have won Coach of the Year.
We do, yes.
Okay.
But again, you have to take new information and use it.
Yeah, but why? But what I'm saying
I was way more disappointed with Nick this year than I was with Jalen.
And I was more disappointed with Jalen. So that's where we differ.
You're very, very much in the minority. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying the vast majority, and again, like, I don't dismiss what people have played the game and have been in those situations say about it. Like, they all, are 90% of them are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And look, again, I don't want this to come off as Jalen doesn't deserve blame, because Jalen does. Like, I'm super disappointed in Jalen this season. Like I said, the off the field stuff is much. Like, the fact that he's not relating to teammates, the fact that you have teammates who don't feel comfortable talking to him.
I just think we're glossing over
I think it's all bad.
Not you, but maybe as a pod, we haven't discussed it enough. Like, think of how concerned we were about that.
I think it's horrible.
Yeah. So but that's not coming out about Nick. Like, nothing's coming out like the players don't like Nick. From all intents and purposes, it seems like the players like Nick, right? Like, there has been no reports of like the players think he's a joke, like Nick. Like, and I'm not saying popular is how you should make these decisions. You have to be good at your job, but like, the warning signs are here with Jalen, and I want to be clear about something too. Like, I like Jalen. I think he's the coolest quarterback this team has ever had. I have said I think he is, like, if you could build a robot of what a franchise quarterback looks and acts like, I would pick him. So this is not like me always thinking it's Jalen. I just think, and you would probably back me up on this, like, it's always the quarterback. Like, it is. Like, and I think that's what I got away from the past few weeks. Like, when I wanted to believe in this team and all that, like trust the warning signs. And the warning signs were there about the McLean pod, which first was like, they think he's too isolated, he's not talking to enough people. Then the article comes out this week about, like, by the way, the Britton Covey quote, which is on the record.
Yeah.
Like,
dumb that's on the record, but also Britton Covey's the last guy on the roster. Like, it's not.
But let me tell you this, like, that matters. Like, Britton Covey,
I would prefer he didn't feel.
Yes.
That's what I just talked about.
Right.
I just said that.
But I think that's the problem with the team. Like, I agree with you. They need to be better against the blitz. The coach needs to be better. All that stuff. But if you have the heart of your team, the franchise guy in your team is someone that people feel is, like, unapproachable and, like, is, like, that's a problem. Like, we all agreed it was a problem with Carson. Why were we so much more confident in Jalen? Because we said Jalen was a great leader. Carson wasn't somebody that was leading the team. The locker room didn't believe in him. That's not who Jalen is. Jalen's awesome. And I think Jalen can still be that, because to your point, he's only 25, and I think he can grow. But I don't get why everyone is so sure Nick can't do it. Like, maybe it has to be broken.
And maybe. And look, I went into this saying I would give Nick a chance to figure it out. And I'm not like, if they don't fire Nick, I'm not going to be upset. Like, I'm really on the line with this one. It feels untenable, and that's why I would move on. I personally don't want him fired in a macro sense or a holistic sense. But regardless, like, you do have to look at it and say, all right, like, just from a Nick perspective, forget the Jalen thing. First and foremost, I think he did a horrendous job on the field this year. I think he was a bad coach, like, not just a bad in-game coach, and I think his offense is a disaster. That's how I feel. We might disagree. I think it's a bad offense that they didn't change at all. They brought back the same thing and, like, let's do it. And it was a horrendous decision. So on the field, but this thing with Jalen and whatever, like, Nick's whole thing is culture. Nick's whole thing is love the guy next to you. Like, if Nick can't control Jalen, then he's got to go. Like, another reason.
But that's the whole
I'm serious, though. Like, Jalen Hurts is the most important person in the organization. Yes. That's a fact. And that, from a financial obligation commitment. So, like, as much as it sucks, guess what? Part of the head coach's job is getting that quarterback to like you, believe in you, and do what you say. And if Nick can't do that, bye.
All right.
Like, it sucks, but that's what it's just the situation they're in.
And that might be true, but it doesn't fix the problem. Like, firing Nick doesn't fix the problem.
No, but the point is, you bring someone in who can fix Jalen.
Yeah, and
that's the point,
right? And so do it. Like, that's why I'm saying.
Do you think Bill Belichick? If Bill Belichick comes in, and I know you don't want Belichick, but if you think Bill Belichick comes, I know you don't. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm saying, do you think if Belichick comes in, that Jalen Hurts is going to do what he wants and not do what Bill Belichick wants?
Yes.
Wrong. That's so wrong.
Yes.
He would listen to Belichick.
I think highly of Jalen. I think Jalen has it in him to be a great player. I think Jalen has achieved at every level of his football life. I think this year, Jalen wasn't good enough. Jalen audibled all the time. That's been reported. Jalen didn't do a good job against the blitz. He turned it over. Like, Jalen wasn't good this year. And he wasn't good as a leader. I think we can safely say that, right? Now, I believe Jalen has it in him to turn it around. Like, when Carson had these problems that Jalen's having, Carson had a torn ACL and a broken back. And Carson was a little older. He was probably, 3 or 4 years older. And that matters. So I think Jalen can turn it around. But I think giving up on a head coach just because he doesn't get along with Jalen or just because Jalen had a bad year is a flawed way of building a team. What if next year Belichick comes in here to use your guy and he's like, Jalen's hard to work with or something, like, who knows, right? Or Jalen can't handle the blitz. Like, I think this is fixable in the way that it's a personality thing, it feels, but also Jalen has to play better, man.
Of course he does, but he also has to be coached better. It's on both of them. It's on the coach and the quarterback to be better in that spot.
I just think it's more likely in any case. Let's remove the names. I think it's more likely a player regresses. When I say physically, I don't mean permanently.
But Nick has talked about how they didn't change the offense. They're just like, this is what we do, and we're going to come out and do it. Like, are you?
But guys are open. Like,
they're NFL. You change every year.
I think
adjust to you. That's like what we. It's like an adage. We know that. Like, hey, gonna have to adjust because they're gonna adjust to him. And he did nothing, man. It's like coaching malpractice.
But do you really think?
Like, my shit works.
Yeah. I think too much is being made of that, in my opinion.
I think not enough.
I think when Nick is talking to the media on the record, he is not going into so I agree with you. You have to run different things. You have to do, right? But ultimately, there are certain things Jalen is good at. And Jalen is really good at throwing the deep ball. Jalen's really good at the RPO. Jalen is really good at third down plays. He used to be really good at taking care of the ball. And so I think they try to coach to what Jalen's strengths are. And they're
not.
But Jalen wasn't good this year.
Dude, you can't just only blame it on Jalen. It's this is crazy. I'm saying Jalen wasn't good. Nick wasn't either.
I agree. Nick wasn't great.
So they were both bad.
I've said that.
Right.
I've said that.
And at the end of the day, sadly, the coach is going to take the bullets for that.
I agree. And it's a messed up situation.
But it's also on the coach. You're the head coach.
Yes, I have said.
Everything that happens as a football team is on you,
man.
Yeah,
I said in training camp this team was sloppy.
This team didn't show up for a playoff game.
100%.
They didn't tackle. They didn't show effort. They were morose.
Can I ask you something? Is that on Jalen too?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. But it's more on the head coach.
But it feels like when the Eagles are doing really well, it was Jalen's a great leader.
No, we gave Nick
credit too. I'm saying, but
we gave him both credit. Yes, it's on both.
It's on both.
But it's more on Nick. Jalen's on charge of the defense tackling. He's not.
Neither is Nick, for what it's worth.
Yes, he is. At the end of the day, how this team shows effort is on your head coach.
Yes, I agree with that.
That is part of the deal.
I agree with that.
And how they show up to play and how ready they are to play and how tight they are and how many mistakes they make. That's all on the head coach. And they were disaster in all of those areas. And then on top of that, it's bad coaching. And look, we don't know who made the decision to go to Patricia, but whoever made that alone is a fireable offense.
Yeah, it was bad.
That feels like it completely ruined the defense. The defense was bad all year or whatever, but it went from being a bad who could get a few stops to the worst defense in football, a defense that literally could not stop anything over the middle of the field.
Although what's so funny about the game is the defense was certainly bad and there were drop passes, but it is crazy. There was 2 quarters where the Bucs didn't.
Well, it was
score.
close, but it was it was cause of
no, I agree.
Passes.
Yeah. But I'm just saying
3 of them.
that was midway through the third. You're the defense has been terrible. You're well, they're only down 8 points.
It kept being dude, it was
the back-to-back plays where Gainwell runs 10 yards behind line of scrimmage and gets tackled. Did something happen?
No.
Oh, I thought you pointed to Tuck. I'm on high alert.
No, we're good.
Yeah. And then the second play where Jalen takes the safety. What are you doing, man? You got to get rid of the ball there. And so the other thing, I don't know. I feel I don't want to be painted as very anti-Jalen and very pro-Nick. I think they both have work to do. It just is upsetting to me that Nick is going to take the fall when I think Jalen, just much like when they win, I think Jalen's more of a reason why they win. And when they lose, I think he's more of the reason why they lose. That's why you pay quarterbacks all this money. That's exactly why. The reason you tie up a large portion of your salary cap is because he's supposed to be the one that fixes things. I know people hate Emmanuel Acho now for some reason. But I know you don't, but he annoys people, right?
Yeah, he annoys me.
I like Emmanuel Acho, but he had this quote I thought was good. If you're a franchise quarterback, you're supposed to be above the X's and O's. And I'm not. That doesn't mean the coach has no responsibility.
I don't disagree. To a point. I think it's I always say I got to make everyone better, but again, first and foremost, the you can't blame Jalen for the entire team.
No, I'm not
showing up.
blaming Jalen for the entire team.
And again, like I go back to what was the one thing because Nick doesn't call plays. He doesn't run the defense. He doesn't really, he's in play design, whatever. But like he's a bad in-game coach, as you point out, or at least not
agreed.
Good,
yeah,
if not good an in-game coach. And then so the only thing that I'm asking from Nick, the only thing is leadership, culture, building a team where everyone's fired up every Sunday or Monday and everyone's ready to play and there's energy and you know what I mean? So if it's that's the one thing that I can count on him for. The one thing that makes him special as head coach is that, because he's not special at anything else. We can agree on that, right? Even if you think he's a better play designer than people give credit for, he's not special. He's not Shanahan. He's not McVay. So if that's the one thing that he does great, and we're sitting here now with a team that didn't show up for a playoff game and a locker room where, Lane Johnson coming out and being yeah, we can't have guys moping. They guys players just talking about how crappy everyone else is. So what's Nick doing? You know what I mean? It's it's hard. And again, I'm not even the most out on Nick of most people. I'm not. But if that's what I can rely on him for, and this happened the way it did, and as ugly and as to the point where you're talking about this team being broken. Then what does Nick do? Why is he here if he can't even do that? The thing that he's supposed to be greatest at. But when things go bad, if Nick, and again, we never got to see it, except at the beginning, which is the very beginning, but if Nick's whole thing, the culture, the whole team connectedness, the thing that he's best at, if the first sign of failure as a team, it all falls apart, that's a problem.
But also, so this is what it reminds me of a little. Remember when Bradford was a quarterback in 2015, and he was really good for the final 7 games? And
I don't remember that.
Okay, so it became like a joke. Tucker, maybe you'll remember this.
That was a big thing.
Yeah, it was
a meme, Bradford's last 7 games.
I don't remember.
And everybody was like, well, let's be honest here. You can't use 7 games to judge a quarterback.
I was totally ignored all of it.
Wow, you were out on this. All right.
I'm saying you must. If I remember, I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. I'm not judging Sam Bradford on 7 games. Chip Kelly got fired. They were a horrible team.
Yes. So and that same note, to your point, you were right. The last 7 games, if we want to use that number, because I can't remember how much it was, but the last 7 games, if you want to use that as a number, yes, everybody was really bad, for sure.
Right, but again,
the largest sample size we have here is that Nick's a very good head coach and Jalen's a very good quarterback. That is the large sample size we have, right? And this idea that Nick can't, I'm not saying you're saying this, but Nick can't turn it around. He's turned it around once.
Well, it was the beginning of a season, and he turned around in season.
Yeah.
Which, again,
me and you have talked a lot about how Nick fixes problems.
Yeah,
right?
but
penalties.
But then this whole season the blitz.
Yeah, I think he messed up this season. I think to your point, while I think too much is made of it, maybe he should have came in with more adjustments than he did. Right? Maybe they really have a flawed plan against the blitz and they need to figure it out. Those are two.
I think definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are two things I think are fixable. Or you bring in somebody that can be a special assistant to the blitz that's really good against the blitz, right? But what I know is with Nick here, they have won way more games than they've lost. They've been in the playoffs all 3 years. If you fire Nick, maybe you get a great head coach. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Maybe now Jalen has a third coordinator in 3 years. He's annoyed about that. The offense takes a step back.
Well, I don't.
Maybe they don't.
For what it's worth, I do not think they would fire Nick without Jalen's blessing.
Well, yeah. Maybe.
I know, but that's my point. You just said a new connect. What if Jalen is fine with it? That's the point. It might be okay with it. They're good. It's not just the different coordinators each year, but if he doesn't like a coordinator or doesn't think a coordinator is good,
right?
And look, he might like Brian Johnson's person. He might not think he's a good coordinator. We don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, but
and again, it's hard to really know anything that Brian.
And then there's a discussion of how much say should Jalen have? We didn't like when Carson picked Press Taylor, right? So
but I think in terms of it's not say, it's that. I was just saying to your point, you were the one who said Jalen might be upset with that. But regardless, I just mean more that it's not say, it's if it's untenable. It's if Jalen is I will not work with this guy, then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, then you have to fire him.
Yeah.
But I'm
again, we don't know I'm just throwing. We're just hypothetical.
Yeah, and look, maybe they get a new head coach in here, and it's Jalen's the best quarterback we've ever seen against the blitz, and the guys are turning their heads at a rate we've never seen, right? But ultimately, what
Belichick in here, buddy?
Yeah, it will be so fun and so amazing. I can't wait next year for everybody to get their wish and get Belichick.
I don't think it's going to be Belichick.
I really, really hope not. And if I hear one more time about this stupid 15-win thing, I'm not hiring a head coach because he wants to get 15 wins to get.
It'd be cool to see it happen in our city.
No, I don't think it would be. I literally would not care at all. I'm not going to tweet about it. Mark my word.
Why do you hate Belichick.
Because he's a bad coach.
He's not. Stop,
Okay,
dude.
right.
He's the greatest coach in the history of
Yeah,
the
he has the
sport.
best resume of all time. I agree. He's a great defensive mind. If he comes here, I think the defense will be better. But you're going to enter a carousel of offensive coordinators.
You know, McDaniels, who again is a horrible head coach,
Right.
but is a elite offensive coordinator. I mean, he's a multiple times.
And guys hate him.
As a head coach, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you're still leading meetings.
But they didn't hate him. That's the thing. Like in offense, in New England, they always liked McDaniels in New England. It's just when he went other places and became a head coach, people hated him. Like to be fair, like people did like him in New England. Like him and Brady got along great. Like
I just think what's happening right now with the Eagles, if they fire Serianni, like there are warning signs here that like this team is not operating at the level we thought. Like if you fire Nick after 3 years,
But
like
again,
then how does this new head coach feel he has? Well, no, he gave Doug 5 years.
right, but he
And 3 years after the Super Bowl, and Doug won 4 games when they fired Nick.
Doug had one losing season after 2 years after winning the Super Bowl and 1 year after making it to the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
He had one losing season and they fired him. It's not
With
it's
4
not
wins.
It's not exactly the same, obviously, because he had a 4-win season, but it's like it's close. Like it's
I don't
not
think
like
it's
the craziest.
I don't think Nick
because
and-
Doug actually won the Super Bowl. Nick didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
Doug won the Super Bowl, made the playoffs, had one bad year and got fired. I actually think the Doug thing is like even crazier.
I disagree with that.
Whatever.
So, but like Nick won 11
You would have
games.
thought the guy who won the Eagles a Super Bowl would have gotten a decade.
Yeah, but and look, like this is
And
you're
Nick
not-
didn't win us a Super
You're not
Bowl.
gonna like this, but like Doug did a fantastic coaching job. I'm not diminishing Doug whatsoever when he won the Super Bowl. Like Nick came within 3 minutes of winning the Super Bowl. If they don't call that Bradbury flag, does Jalen get another year? I'm sorry, does Nick get another year?
Yeah, if they win the Super Bowl, we're not talking about it. But and I know that sucks, and I know that's again. I don't think any of this is fair. Like
and that's what I can't get down
I don't think he
with.
deserves it, but it's like the Unforgiven. Like, have you seen Unforgiven? Probably not. Great movie.
Yeah.
The main line, Clint's like deserves got nothing to do with it, and he blows the dude away because it's just not about what you deserve. Sadly, it's about the facts of the situation and what is best for this team moving forward.
Yeah, and I think this team's in trouble moving forward. Then
It's so funny that you're the one
because I
who in
believed,
2020
and yeah,
and they did.
I shouldn't have
they
let.
turned it around. They
So,
almost won the
I
Super
think
Bowl last
if
year.
I think about my last, like, and look, we're all gonna have opinions about things. We're gonna be right and wrong about things. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. But like, if I think about the two things, I feel like where I've really like swayed and dug my heels in. I didn't
Carson
think they were.
Wentz?
No. I'm going a different way with this.
Okay.
I didn't think they'd win the Super Bowl. I got wrapped up in like believing in them and the emotion, and they lost. I'm disappointed in myself because all the red flags were there, right? In terms of like they weren't really like
This year.
Yes, this
Yeah.
year, right?
Should've
And
listened to me.
but I believed in them. I believed in them.
Yeah.
And I was wrong to do that.
This is a bummer. You've been Mr. Like I've been like the one like bright spot in my Eagles like life
Yeah.
has been hearing Elliott.
And I
make me
tried,
feel
and I
better.
believed in him, and I thought there was reasons for it for sure. But like Kelsey's probably gone, so the offensive line's not going to be as good. They're going to have 2 new starters if you consider Juergens at center and Steen or whatever. 2 new starters on the offense line. The defensive line's a disaster. Like who's even going to be back? Reddick might not be back. Fletcher might not be back. They were their 2 best players this year.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis is a
I
bust.
would guess Reddick is back, but you know they got to pay him.
Maybe. I don't think Reddick's back. You think they're going to give him a new deal?
You think
They
they're gonna
have to
trade him. Well, he's got one more year in his
Yeah, but
deal.
he's not going to play.
I agree, but
Yeah.
you think they're going to trade him rather than pay him?
I don't know, but I wouldn't. But I'm saying like Reddick is up in the air,
Sure.
right? They're going to need 2 new corners, 2 new safeties, 2 new linebackers.
They need to rebuild the
2 new
entire
offensive
defense.
linemen. They
The
need an
entire
offensive
defense.
coordinator. Like the Eagles team, we like had fun believing in and being like, look, like it's gone, it's over, and it sucks, but it is what it is.
I will again.
They're gonna have a whole new coaching staff. They're gonna have a whole new defense.
I get it, but again, we said the same thing in 2020. I was like, this team's the Raiders or the Jaguars. The back then they had made the like. I was like, they're the Browns, the Lions. All teams who are in the playoffs right now. Think of it as that.
Yeah.
But again, and you were like, no, like give it a chance, whatever. And I was wrong. A year later, they're in the playoffs, and a year later, they're in the Super Bowl. And to your point, came within 3 minutes of winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like. Same thing in 2015 when
And
Chip
hopefully-
Kelly was gone. I was like, this guy burned the roster to the ground. It's going to take a decade to recover. They won the Super Bowl 2 years later. So like, I'm just like, yes, this thing that we thought would last for longer might not. But like, I don't think the Eagles are not going to turn it around. Like they could turn around immediately.
I agree. Howie's good at his job, so maybe.
Howie's great as
maybe.
job, and
yeah,
I believe
maybe.
in Jalen still. Like I'm not
Maybe.
out on Jalen.
Maybe.
But regardless, the point is we have seen twice in the last 8 years the lowest of the lows. You know, I think the Chip year, maybe not the lowest you can get, but pretty bad.
Right.
And the 4-11-1 year with Doug, and then literally each of those times 2 years later we were in the Super Bowl. So like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I think the NFL, like, I'm not doing this whole like,
No, for sure.
They're screwed forever.
No. I don't think
Like,
they're screwed
yeah.
forever. I agree. Like, they
But
could
I
turn
agree,
it
the
around.
Sirianni Hurts thing might be over.
Like they could turn it around, but like in no point in this last like 3 years did it feel to us as if the arrow was pointing in the wrong direction. The arrow's pointing in the wrong direction now.
Well,
and, like,
it did in
the
2020.
team, like,
in 2020, it did feel like it was pointing in the wrong.
No, but I mean, like, sorry, since like the
but
majority,
it's a very small.
2021. I'm saying.
Yeah, it's only a few
but
years.
like I don't know how I can go into next season and be like, like let's say they hire Ben Johnson and Ben Johnson starts 8-0. And it's like, oh, they found their guy. No, they didn't. This guy could be fired in a year. Like, Jalen could be gone. This time next year, Jalen could be gone.
I think we have to. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm bringing up that 17 thing. I do think that we have to change the way we look and talk about these things. I've been thinking that a lot lately, just in terms of like, oh, the old adage, like, it don't matter. Adages don't matter anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter for the Eagles.
For anybody.
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Tomlin, the Steelers have stuck
Tomlin
by
is
Tomlin.
like the one, but he also
the Patriots stuck with Belichick. The Ravens have stuck with Harbaugh. The Seahawks have stuck with but I'm saying like other organizations have stuck by head coaches.
These are guys who won Super Bowls early.
Yeah, Nick almost won. Nick came within 4 minutes winning the Super Bowl.
These are guys who
I know.
Won.
I get that. I get that.
And I'm sorry, but that's what it is. I mean, like these are guys who won Super Bowls early, and that's what I said. If Nick had won it, he would have got more grace.
So if they hire Bill Belichick or Ben Johnson,
what it is.
and they win 5 games next year, is he on the hot seat?
Dude, but
I'm saying this is
this
is the precedent we're setting. Like, I don't ever want to hear about like letting someone develop or like any of these things. Like we did the Nolan Smith discussion. Like, is he a bust? He had a bad year.
No, I told you he wasn't. I don't think that. I think players and coaches are different, and it's just what it is now. Like I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm saying the way the NFL is now, like you have shorter time to prove yourself. Like it is what it is.
But 1 year.
Again, like I don't, dude.
Like Brian Johnson, we're just gonna give up on 1 year, like he's done.
Look, I've been saying I agree with you. I get it. I don't think it's necessarily fair. I'm saying it's not fair. I'm just saying what the NFL is now.
Yeah, but the Eagles don't have to operate.
Sirianni got hired. None of those guys have jobs.
And so
like freaking Staley's gone, and Arthur Smith's gone, and like they're all gone.
Yeah, and Nick's won as many games as them like combined.
Again, dude, I'm not.
But you said you'd fire him. Like, let's not discuss fair, unfair.
Again, I'm saying it feels like he should be fired. Again, I don't know what I would do if I were in the role. And again, I think it's all about if they don't believe he's the guy, they don't believe he's the guy. Like that's what it is. And to the point where, even though I don't think it's fair, and that's why I've kind of been like, I would give it. I was so disappointed with what I saw from Nick in the playoff game the last couple weeks that like it made me reconsider. Like I'm not even sure that I'm torn on it. I'm truly torn. But I lean towards it because he was so bad. I have lost faith in Nick Serianni.
Yeah,
yes,
I agree. I've lost faith in the Eagles. I agree with you. Like I've lost faith in Nick. I've lost faith in Jalen. I've lost faith in Howard.
More than any of the others is my point.
Yeah,
pretty handily.
But like a lot. Other thing I hear people say is like, doesn't call the plays. Like, so we can't do the thing where like Nick doesn't do much and then also think he's the main person to blame. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, you can. The head coach is in charge of how the team looks when they get on the field. Like that's the end.
But the team, so the team has played hard other than these last 2 games. They played well. They were up big. No, I'm saying the last 2 games for sure. But let's not act like they've carved.
Nothing else matters. They didn't.
No, I agree. They caved, but I'm saying
like generally speaking, like in a vacuum, like I would almost say that a performance like that in a playoff game, like I'm almost like any coach should be fired in any situation when your team shows up like that for a playoff game.
Well,
like
the Patriots lost to the Steelers or Bills
50-6,
yeah,
or whatever.
Okay,
50 something. Yeah, I would have. Belichick was done up in New England. I would.
All right,
but again, I don't think Belichick's a bad coach. I just think he was done in New England. I think we see this all the time. Like you can be done in a spot. Andy Reid was done in Philly. He should have been fired. Still a great coach.
Yeah,
like that happens.
Yeah, I just like. I think it's so messed up if they fire him. Like maybe it has to happen. Maybe it is what it is.
And again, I agree. I don't think he deserves it. I agree. But again, he did a bad job.
I feel this way about Jalen and Nick, to be clear. Like I think Jalen really cares about winning and all those things.
No doubt.
Yep, for sure. And I think he cares about like the fans. I believe in all that. But like let's just use Belichick and Nick here as like kind of an example of like where I'm at with this. Like for whatever you think about Nick's ability to like scheme against the blitz or whatever. Like, this guy came to Philadelphia, completely, like, ingratiated himself into the city. He's, like, always wearing different team stuff. He clearly cares a ton. He's on with you guys. Like, he is a good guy that cares. And he had a bad year, right? He had a bad year. But, like, so that's it? Like, that's what we are? That we're just, like, get this guy out of here?
But again.
And, like Belichick's going to come here. He's not going to be fun. He's not going to do any of that
None
stuff.
of that
He's
stuff
going to be
matters.
boring. Like,
It doesn't matter.
But I think
it's all about winning,
But it
man.
can matter. But Nick did win. He won 11 games. It ended poorly. But
yeah.
he did. I'm saying, like, this was not an 0-17 season. They were not 4-11.
Again,
like,
I don't think he deserves it. It all comes down to that we don't know. We're not in that Jeffrey and Howie's shoes. We don't know what they know. We don't know what they know in terms of like how much
and it is a good
Nick.
time. It is a good time where Lurie. It's good that Lurie's in the building all the time because he will know. And but to your point, if they like in a dark room where like they have to tell the truth, if they think the issue's Jalen, like you're right,
then
Nick could still get fired though.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate. And it's a bad sign.
I agree with you. That would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. If they think they can't work together, but they blame Jalen more and still fire Nick, that sucks. I agree, but we don't know. Like it might be Nick. I mean, hey, Nick might be the bigger problem. Like that's possible.
So we didn't talk about the Jalen press conference moment either.
The not our turn.
So
I mean, it's horrible.
Come on, Jalen. So
it's one of the dumbest things. Honestly, Joe compared it to like Andy McPhail. If we don't. It's like the same type of thing. Like it is.
Oh no, I'm talking about the.
Oh, not defending Nick.
Yeah.
Well, so I will also like him saying it's not our turn was like an all-time like. Are you kidding?
I was
me?
okay with that.
Would Tom Brady have ever said it wasn't my turn?
No, I like
no.
I don't think. Look, I agree it's a bad quote, but like I don't think it's an indictment.
I hate
Jalen.
I hate it. But regardless, him not defending Nick.
So Nick to use AJ Brown's words, Nick looked like a fool for you.
Right, but Nick had to.
Nick had to. Well, guess what, man? Jalen can get up there and be like, "Hey, do you want Nick?"
But he doesn't want to. Like,
no, I know, but then just like be a good teammate. Get up there and be like, "Look, maybe that behind the scenes he can go to Lurie if he wants, or Howie or whoever, and say, I don't think Nick's the guy. That's his right. Jalen has earned the right to have that voice. He had an outstanding year last year. He had a great college career to get drafted highly. Like Jalen has earned the right to say who his head coach is. But at the podium, you can't toss Nick a lifeline. Everyone in the NFL is clowning Nick. You just got smoked. The whole city is yelling at this guy and is mad at Nick. Someone threw popcorn at him, right? And I know Jalen doesn't know that. But the point I'm making is Jalen knows Nick's under a lot of scrutiny. And you could ask, do you want Nick back as your head coach? And you do the whole like, oh, I didn't know. Just say nice things about him. Would it kill you? Would it really kill you? Nick has defended you and taken heat for you all the time. I'm sure there's times Nick feels Jalen isn't like being the best quarterback, right? But what does Nick do up there? What does Brian Johnson do up there? What do everyone else do? They lie. They go up there and they defend their guys. I agree.
Doesn't it say something that Jalen didn't?
Yes, I think it says something about Jalen. Well, I don't think it says anything about Nick.
That's silly. Like,
why?
I think it says something about the relationship. It says something about both of them.
So let me ask you this, right?
Like, either you're like again, don't you like you don't think Nick played like how Jalen perceives Nick and his relationship with Nick is on Nick too.
Yes,
like,
it is. I agree with that.
That's my point.
Yes.
So if their relationship is so bad, and again, we're inferring here, whatever.
Right.
If their relationship is so bad that Jalen was at the podium and didn't want to say nice things about Nick, that's on Nick too.
I agree.
It's on both of them.
So I think the truth there is it is on both of them to make the relationship work. It's like two to tango or whatever. I got that phrasing or saying, right? It's on both of them for sure. And like if Jalen is out on Nick, and again, we're inferring, but if Jalen is out on Nick, he has every right to be out on Nick. Like I just said, he's earned it. He should tell people that if he thinks Nick's a bad head coach. But at the podium, in front of people, like if me and you got in a big fight, right? And you were saying behind the scenes to our boss, look, Elliot's not as committed as the pod as he used to be. He's not here. He's not doing a good job. But then some website interviewed you. It was like, hey, what's it like working with Elliot? What would you do? Be honest here. But you were mad at me behind the scenes. You would say nice things.
Probably,
you would.
Probably,
so that's all I'm saying. So go up there, Jalen, and be like, here's what you say. Ready? Do you want Nick back as your head?
But again, we're friends. I care about you. You're one of my best friends.
Like, yes.
So the point is, if I were doing the pod with someone I didn't like.
But Nick and Jalen
let's say I was doing the pod with someone I didn't like. I know it's a crazy thing to think about.
Right.
But let's say I was doing the pod with someone I didn't like. Like, I don't know. Maybe I would be like, yeah, this guy sucks. I wouldn't say this guy sucks. But maybe I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's fine. It's working with him, it's fine. Because I don't like that person. So I'm with you. I agree with you. I wouldn't, me personally, you know me, like I like most people, I'm pretty friendly and all that. Like, but if like Jalen doesn't like Nick, and again, we don't know this, but if he doesn't want him to be his head coach, it's not surprising. Like, again, then he shouldn't do that. I agree with you. I would do it.
I think he should.
Yeah, so you think he should
just Nick did it for him. Other teammates
had to. Nick
so does Jalen.
No, he doesn't.
Jalen and Nick are equally important in terms of what they say. In fact, you could argue Jalen's more important. But
you're missing the point. Nick had to for job security. Nick's job says like that he has to defend his quarterback stand up. Like it's just part of his role. It's part of the job.
Yeah.
He would lose his job otherwise, right? Jalen doesn't. Like, I agree, it'd be a nice thing to do and all that, But like Jalen's not going anywhere no matter what he says about Nick. So like my point being that I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying I think it tells you a lot about how Jalen feels about Nick.
But I also think like I just think it was a bad moment for Jalen.
I think the whole week was bad for Jalen.
Yeah.
I think he's again. So that one didn't bother me as like I just think that's what it is. Like I don't like. I think it just shows a fractured relationship.
Yeah.
Like I hated that it's not our turn. I can accept that. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, are you serious? Like,
that one didn't hit me as
Go
much,
freaking take a title. Like,
yeah.
It's not my turn?
Yeah.
Again, with Tom Brady in a zillion years, say it's not my turn. No, he's saying I want to win it every year. It's my turn every year.
Right.
It's my turn. Like, I hated it. I hated his whole, like, blase, didn't work out this year.
I like that, again, that one didn't hit me as much, so I agree.
Hated it.
Yeah.
I
just, like, I can't believe it's falling apart.
All right. Well, yeah, that's for sure. I saw Jack walk in. I know you got another pod to do.
Yeah.
No big deal. I guess it's Sixer season now.
Yeah. Well, I do.
I'm going to worry about the Eagles.
Yeah, the Sixers have a bright future. So. I got a final thought.
Yeah, real quick, the Kelsey thing before we move on. So, for those who didn't see, Adam Schefter, I mean, everyone saw it. So, what you might not have seen is that Kelsey on his pod did walk back and said he's going to retire, I think, but he said he wants to do it on his own. Here's my theory, and this would be super, super dark if it is. And I saw some people talk about this where I think it was interesting. Ross Tucker posited on the morning show. Do you think there's a chance? Because we have Brandon Graham on yesterday, and we asked him, it was right after the Schefter report, and we're like, oh, Adam Schefter reporting that Kelsey told teammates, whatever.
Oh, I saw this about
and
this.
Brandon was like, what are you talking about? So he didn't say anything to us. Like,
yeah.
And we're like, oh, maybe he told other teammates or whatever, but like, also possible he did not tell teammates. Do you think there's any chance that the Eagles leaked it to Schefter to kind of soften, to make it about, oh, look at Jason, we love Jason, to kind of take some of the heat off the Eagles, because that makes a lot of sense.
So, no, just because I don't think they would do that to Jason.
I hope they wouldn't. I hope they wouldn't.
I don't think they. I don't think.
I hope they would.
But like, it could also be, and I don't want to use names because that's unfair. But like Jason could have told like the people he's closest with on the team. So and Brandon didn't know because he didn't like announce. I get it. But you think those guys like Lane Johnson would leak it? Like I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah. But I'm saying like I don't think the Eagles made up a story about Jason.
I hope not.
Teammates.
I hope not.
I don't think so.
I don't know, but like stuff like that happens,
Yeah, but not to a franchise icon like that.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. Regardless, it did suck that he, has not gotten to do it on his terms. We'll address it all whenever he does finally retire.
Yeah.
We all love Jason Kelsey, we know. All right, final thoughts.
So, why do I still have to sign the back of checks?
You don't.
Yeah, when you mobile deposit, you don't.
Do you? Are you sure you do?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
There's still a line for it, and it says sign the check.
Wow.
Like what's the point? Anyone can just sign the check.
I think there's a much better final thought here. Why do we still use checks?
I agree with that, but when I have,
what are we doing here?
When I have a check, like, what's the point of me having to sign it? Everyone, is it?
Anyone could. I agree.
Yeah,
they're not checking the signature against your signature.
Right. So
I think it's a really good point. Anyone can sign it with anything.
Like when I mobile deposit a check, I have to sign it. I have to go find a pen. I have to figure out which side to sign. It's like, obviously I know the back, but like which part of it. So
I think that's a really. I'm with you. Again, I think the better take is just get rid of it and total.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a pretty good take.
Thank you.
I like that one a lot. Okay, I'm trying to decide what I'm gonna do here. It's such a shame. I felt like we had so much time.
I know.
A quick one. I want to start calling people turd more. I feel like shut up, turd.
Well, what'd you do?
I said shut up, nerd. Is another one I like.
That's a close
but that's a phrase. Shut up, nerd. I like. Don't be such a turd. Like I think turd is underutilized.
Yeah, I could see that.
You could see that?
Yeah, I could see that. Okay. I'm still with the talk to the hand more than both those, but turd is pretty good.
All right, I'll do one other, and it's something I've done before, but I'm gonna do it again because I rewatched Train to Busan recently, which if you like zombie movies, it's by far the best zombie movie. Like nothing's even in its hemisphere. Train to Busan's amazing, and I rewatched Parasite, which won Best Picture a few years ago. Watch movies with subtitles. I know we've talked about this. You're a fan of subtitles. Like
I'm so either completely in on them or so there's a movie on Netflix I want to watch recently. It looks so good. And then with subtitles and I was like, I just don't have it in me.
Oh, see, I'm so full.
So I think subtitles force you to pay attention more, which I really like if I'm in the mood to do that.
And there's also a whole world of cinema, a whole world of movies out there for you that all you got to do is just read a little line. And there's so much stuff out there. It's amazing. I couldn't if you're like, I don't like subtitles, give it a freaking shot, is all I'm saying. Just give it a chance. Watch Train to Busan. Watch Parasite. It's a great movie. There's so many amazing movies. Just making a pitch, a plea. Like Bong Joon-ho when he won the Oscar.
I like it.
Thank you.
I agree. People that don't watch them intentionally are missing out.
That's my point. Give them a chance. If you're not a subtitle, I don't like it. It has subtitles. Like, don't think that way.
Anything in the chat, Tucker?
Oh, well, real quick, you know what we can do?
There is some breaking news.
Yeah, we can welcome home our friend because it is official news now.
Spike Eskin.
Our guy, Spike Eskin.
Very exciting.
Yo! Yay!
Happy to have him back in the building.
We are like ecstatic. Honestly, we didn't know until today who was going to be taking the role in the afternoon host. It's been announced. In a million years, I couldn't have guessed that Spike would be coming home. And there's no one it could have been that would make me happier. Like,
I'm
so
super
happy.
pumped for him.
Yeah.
Happy to have him back. Obviously, he's the GOAT with Sixers, so it'll be fun to have that.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's all good things. I'm
all
very
good
pumped.
Things. So shout out to Spike. We're excited about that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back probably later this week. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We're around. Saturday for sure. Parks will be there doing the show. And again, obviously, depending on what news happens, we'll be back to talk about it then. Check out Clap Your Hands because that's coming up.
Yeah.
Until then, he's Eliot J.